Wiślica is a village in Busko County, Świętokrzyskie Voivodeship in south-central Poland. It is the seat of the gmina called Gmina Wiślica. It lies on the Nida River, approximately 14 kilometers south of Busko-Zdrój and 60 kilometers south of the regional capital Kielce. In 2006 the village had a population of 680. History. Wiślica, though today only a small village, is one of the most ancient settlements in Poland, and has played an important role in Polish history. The town was founded more than 1,000 years ago, close to the important commercial routes, running from Kraków to Sandomierz. At the time it was probably the capital of the famous tribe Vistulans, the land of Vistulans, after coming under temporary rule of Great Moravian and Bohemia, was incorporated into Poland by Busko I in 990. The first guarded settlement was probably founded at the end of the 9th century. The remains that survive today are of the settlement which was erected at the end of the 12th century. The city had regular streets, the well was inlaid with stones, and a water cistern, and the remains of 47 wooden houses have been found. The area comprised 10 subsettlements, whose inhabitants worked for the needs of the city. It is very likely that the city was burned down by Tartars during famous invasion of 1241, and it was never again inhabited by settlers. In the late 1950s, archaeologists discovered the foundations of the St. Nicholas Church, dating back to the 10th or 11th century, which is exposed at the museum pavilion. The church was small, 6.65 meters long and 3.40 meters wide, with one aisle and a semicircular apse. It is one of the oldest churches in market settlements of the Malopolska region. The famous gypsum baptismal font located under the foundation of the church became a scientific sensation and the subject of heated discussions. After its discovery, probably it was served as a font for collective baptizing in the 9th century. If so, it would be the place of the earliest baptism on Polish grounds. This event is mentioned in Life of Saint Methodius as so-called Pannonian legend. In the 12th century, Wiślica became an important center of court, intellectual and political life. It was given the status of outstanding cultural center by the wife of Prince Casimir the Just. In the years 1166 to 1173 the town was the capital of the Duchy of Wiślica. This is probably when the truly royal, unique in Poland, residential complex consisting 2 big palaces and the additional round chapels was erected. Also another church was founded. Its remains are hidden in basilica vaults among the relicts of 3rd Wiślica's sanctuary. The discoveries turned out to be a great sensation, especially the floor of the burial crypt of the first Romanesque church built in this place around 1170. It is the priceless work of the art and monument of Romanesque style, located in the burial crypt of the 12th century church. So-called slab of ornance is a gypsum panel with engravings filled with black paste mixed with charcoal. It's showing 2 fields with plain figures separated and surrounded by decorated strips fringes, showing mythological creatures, griffins, a female centaur and the tree of life. Probably the figures represents Prince Henry of Sandomierz and Casimir the Just with the families. It is also a burial place of Henry of Sandomierz. The church with slab of ornance was replaced in the 13th century by bigger, 3-aisled basilica. Its remains are still visible in the vaults and are represented by decorative ceramic floor. Around half of 14th century another church was erected by King Casimir the Great. It is a beautiful example of the Gothic style in architecture, while the most precious buildings of its kind in southern Poland. Also, it is a finest example of very rare 2-aisle type churches. The basilica interior is richly decorated by precious and unique wall paintings. They were commissioned around 1400 by King Vladislav Jagiello in his favorite Ruthenian Byzantine style. Next to the basilica, two buildings founded by Jan de Lugos has been preserved. In 1442 he became a cantor in the Wielika church and 2 years later its curator. Around 1460 he founded the belfry and a building for 12 canons and 12 assistant curates, which is today a rare monument of medieval residential architecture. Wielika was granted charter rights by King Vladislav I the Elbow High in 1326. Since this time it was a place of frequent political gatherings, as well as the place of reading out of Wielika's statutes. His son, King Casimir the Great, built the town's fortified walls with 3 gates and the castle, which was later pulled down. The town's spacious layout changed in those years. The new center of Wielika was located on the commercial route, so-called Via Salis. New bridges on the river Nida were constructed. Wielika was granted important privileges: toll customs on the bridges, the exemption of townspeople custom duties, and the right of storing salt. The brewery of Wielika was known as producing the excellent beer, which was delivered to Kraków for the royal table. For the 14th century, Wielika was the capital of a land. From the 15th century it was a county capital and the seat of Starosta. In 1528 King Sigismund I the Old granted Wielika the right to build municipal waterworks. By the end of the 16th century, the town was destroyed by successive fires, floods, and epidemic began to fall into the oblivion. The town's ultimate destruction took place in 1657 during the Swedish deluge. Although Wielika remained the county capital until the end of the 18th century, it never regained its previous splendor. In 1795 it became part of Austria as a result of the Third Partition of Poland. From 1809 it was in the Duchy of Warsaw, then from 1815 in the Congress Poland under Russian rule, and again in independent Poland since 1918. Wielika lost its city charter in 1870, and it was again destroyed in the course of the First World War. In 1915, in 1939, during the invasion of Poland, heavy fighting occurred near the village. In the course of the German occupation that followed, Wielika's Jewish community perished in the Holocaust. Unfortunately, today Wielika is still forgotten and marginalized by bigger intellectual centers, but remains as a charming town which offers monuments of great artistic merit, of long traditions and memories of important historical events. Sites: Collegiate Basilica of the Birth of the Blessed Virgin Mary in Wielika was erected by King Casimir the Great in 1350. It's the oldest and biggest two-aisle church in Poland. Inside, there are original wall paintings founded by King Vladislav Jagiello in 1400. Today, it's the Sanctuary of Smiling Madonna half-sculpture, given to Wielika by King Vladislav I the Elbow High, dated back to 1270 to 1300. The belfry founded by Jan de Lugos in 1460. The vaults of Gothic basilica with the remains of 2 Romanesque churches, which are dated back to 12th and 13th century. Unique slab of ornaments dated back to 1175. Finest example of the Romanesque art. The house for the canons and assistant curates, so-called House of Jan de Lugos, dated back to 1460, with beautiful original wall paintings. The archaeological pavilion covering the remains of the 10th century Romanesque church and the famous gypsum font from 880. Early medieval fortified settlement formed the end of the 10th century. The Jewish cemetery, created in the 17th century, destroyed during and after the Second World War. Bibliography: Jureki M. Poland.It.